Welcome back to another glorious morning. You'll notice you don't hear any baby boy goats screaming anymore. They have finally figured out the routine. Look, Ladybug's not screaming. Ren, of course, has to be up in the air. But we haven't done a morning routine in a while, and I think it's time. I think it's time for us to let the birdies out. You know the routine. It's going to get loud for a minute. We had a storm blow through overnight, so the pond is nice and full. Might be full of junk. I haven't even looked. We'll see what's blown into it. Oh, well, you didn't belong in there. Alrighty then. So somebody asked me the other day, how do the animals or how do the birds know which side they belong on? Well, clearly, every once in a while, they don't know. It's actually pretty funny. It happens. If we're late to getting the birds put up at night, the chickens put themselves up typically, and he may have, look, he's being a jerk because he has been separated from the flock all night. Big old jerk. Might have to put him in his place. One of the other birds will do it for me. Yeah, see, one of the other roosters will step in and put him in his place. I'm not worried about that. Yeah, so he probably went to roost up in the rafters on that side, and we just didn't notice him. Oops. Typically, I will pick him up and move him to the other side if that happens. But, you know, he's a darker bird. It was probably a little bit later than normal. We had a storm rolling in, and it was really hot. So when it's really, really hot like this, we tend to do our chores pretty late in the evening just to try and get some cool down. The pond looks pretty good. It's definitely full. No issues there. So yeah, anyway, we probably missed him last night. Not a huge deal. It certainly doesn't do anything. It does, weirdly enough, change the flock dynamic, even though he's only been separated for a few hours. It's as if he left the flock and is new, and, you know, their brains are like goldfish, right? Every lap around the pond, they forget who they are. You having a drink? So they'll reestablish themselves. He's busy being a puffy jerk right now, and the other roosters are not worried about it, and they're putting him in his place. All my turkey boys are right here with me. But yeah, I think we look pretty good. Thankfully, in the storm, and it wasn't as bad as they said it was going to be, but we didn't lose any trees. I'm just taking a quick walk. You see our branches here have become quite overgrown, which is exactly what we want at this time of the year. The birds love it. They love the cover that they get from the overgrown kind of weeds and the thickets that get created around these branches. Sometimes we have to replace the branches just because, you know, they get old and brittle and they break, and this one's sort of on its way out. But it still provides some deep cover here, which they love. And I can always tell, you know, they're using it, right? Because there's divots. It's hard. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if I can do it without my shadow getting in the way. Like right here is a divot that's been sort of hollowed out. And they'll sit in there. They'll sit in there for shade. They'll lay eggs. Of course, you've seen me pull eggs out of there before. They'll they'll use it for protection from predators. If the chickens happen to be out on this side of the fenced-in area and the turkey alarm, everybody's getting a drink for the morning. The swim is happening. The sun is shining. It's great. But if the chickens are on this side and the turkey do an alarm for, predator alert, whatever, and they don't feel that they can get to their coop fast enough, that is their typical response, is run to the coop, get inside the coop. If they don't feel that they can get there fast enough, they will duck into these little brushy areas. to use as cover. Getting the turkey alarm at everything though, so, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's not an issue. This is not an alarm call. This is just them talking. They're just chatting this morning. Their tails are so funny. We're reaching the tail end of breeding season. It is not quite over. They're still laying eggs, but turkey season is just about over. I always call it over at the end of June. We get eggs through about mid-July, but those are kind of my backup eggs for, you know, when, like this season, things don't work out exactly as planned and I'm behind in my schedule. So I only have a couple of more orders to fulfill on turkey eggs. And then if I get lucky enough to have a few extra at the end of the season, I will hatch them out. We've got chickens swimming, all sorts of fun stuff. Chickens don't swim necessarily, but they float. So sometimes the chickens do fall into the pond, and they sort of, it's really funny, they kind of put their wings out and use their wings to keep them buoyant and above the water. And then they sort of flap a little bit and get themselves to the edge and get out. At least that's what happens 99% of the time. Every once in a while, I have to come fish one out. The only time they really fall into the pond is, and sorry, there's some sun glare there. The only time they really fall into the pond is when they're all trying to get down to the edge at once, and then somebody jumps on top of somebody else because they're jerks. Chickens are jerks that way. They've got some big holes dug in the dirt here for their dust baths. We've got morning dust baths happening. I mean, this hole is so deep, she's practically disappeared when she lays down in there. And it's really just from what exactly they're doing, which is kicking up some dirt and rolling in it and just having a grand old dust bath. They love it. But yeah, it's pretty deep. End of season, we fill those in, and then they make more of a mess. And then we fill them in, and it's just a fun routine. As long as it's not on the fence line, it's fine. If it gets too deep, too close to the fence line, they could jeopardize the underground placement of the fence. Ugh, I'm having a hard time keeping her in focus. And we certainly, don't allow that to happen, because the whole point of having buried fence line is so that nobody can dig underneath it and get to them. You see Tonka's face stuck through the bushes. The other thing we do, I'm going to come around here because I think the sun glare is bad. There we go. Is during this time of the year, we let the fence lines, especially around the birds, get weedy, get ivy, get, whatever grown up. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, it attracts bugs here, and the birds just literally sit at the fence line and pick the bugs off between the fences. So it's great bug control. They love it. They live for it. But second, it's kind of a protective visual barrier for any young predators that are coming by, right? This is the time of the year. It's spring. Actually, it's almost summer already. But in spring, when all of the baby animals are coming out to hunt for the first time by themselves, so baby foxes, baby raccoons, skunks, opossums, mom has decided to wean them and kick them out. They're on their own. They're not very good at hunting. So sometimes they see fenced-in birds as, an easy snack. So we make it as difficult as possible, but we also provide this visual barrier because, again, that makes it look to a predator from the outside of the fence line that they're going to have to go stalk and hunt instead of just like coming into the fence line and snatching somebody. Is it perfect? No. Does it help? Yes. And we do pretty much everything we can to make sure that we help. What are you doing, buddy? This is self-satisfying. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. You guys can figure it out. It's still breeding season. He is not currently with a female at the moment, and without his tail, I'm sure he's bottom of the pecking order. So he is self-satisfying with the ground. Nothing wrong with that. No shame. All right. I think we are going to cut it there. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Let the Birds Out in the Morning. And I'm going to go feed the rest of the barn. And we'll probably talk to you in a little bit. So until next time, there's work to be done. Bye for now.